Masked men, some carrying Confederate flags, marched through D.C. today. The men were heard chanting anti-immigrant slogans and calling for the removal of immigrants. Let's bring in the News 4 I-Team's Ted Oberg, who has done extensive reporting on political extremism in America. Ted, thanks for joining us.
You bet.
All right.
Happy to be here. Happy 4th.
Happy 4th to you. Ted, some members of the group carried flags that appeared to depict the Patriot Front logo. The Anti-Defamation League described Patriot Front as a white supremacist group. What do you know about this group and their motives?
Yeah, look, they're nearly a decade old, right? They were formed after the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville in 2017 by a guy from Texas who split from the organizers of that group. And they are known for the activity that they did today. Look, they are a white supremacist group, according to the Anti-Defamation League and the Southern Poverty Law Center, which tracks groups like this. But they're known for these well-organized, uniformed protests where they distribute their propaganda and make their point that it is time to return America to a time when it was run by white men. According to the Anti-Defamation League, that's one of the reasons why they carry what's known as the Betsy Ross flag, which is that flag you see there with the red and white stripes normally, and then the 13 stars in a circle. That's to sort of harken back to this time when the colonies were run entirely by white men, and that gives you a sense of their ideology. They have been involved in some limited violence in some of their activities in the past, but really what we saw today is what they are known for across the country.
Ted, what does it say about where our country is? We're watching masked men carrying Confederate flags marching through our city on what is supposed to be a unifying holiday celebrating the 250th anniversary of our independence, calling for the removal of immigrants at a time when we should be together as a country.
I think it says we as a country have a lot of work to do, right? One of the things that experts in extremism are very nervous about is this willingness to be out in the public with these ideas that do not seem to be what the American ideal is, right? And I think one of the things that they are very concerned about is not just a willingness to march, but a willingness to take it a step further than what we saw today and exercise in some political violence. That certainly is a concern. It is important to point out that while they want to get their message out, they don't want to get their identities out, right? You pointed it out. Look at them, all in masks. None of them want to be out in front, with the repercussions that carries.
And to that point, Ted, D.C. police responding now. They're calling this march a First Amendment activity, and they say they recognize the rights of individuals to peacefully express their views. There is a large group of protesters marching through the city. What's your response to what the D.C. police said about this?
Look, the D.C. police did what the D.C. police do with these things. They are experts at what they call First Amendment activity, what all the rest of us would call demonstrations, marches, protests, rallies, right? But this is something that they are really well prepared to deal with. They likely, were ahead of this group and behind this group to make sure that there were no incidents with traffic. And they are not going to get involved in the ideology. They're going to get involved to make sure the people exercising their First Amendment right, as abhorrent as it may be to some of us watching, are allowed to do that and that people are kept safe.
Right. It is disturbing to watch. It's unsettling to see them marching through the city and through landmarks that we celebrate in the city as well.
On a day when we celebrate everyone's freedom, it is very disturbing to watch a group of hundreds of white men march through the nation's capital, trying to popularize an idea that would limit who can call themselves an American.
And Ted, we also saw another large group of people protesting the president today. They were chanting 8647 and more fuel for this political discourse we're seeing in our country right now as our nation marks its 250th anniversary. What does that say about the back and forth that we've been experiencing over this entire year and beyond?
I don't think we should be surprised that there were protesters protesting the president on this day. The president has made this 4th of July on the 250th anniversary very much about him. Folks at Public Citizen, a watchdog group that we spoke with, said that the president had co-opted this into a MAGA rally, which is not what the 250th anniversary of this country is. So I'm not surprised that protesters were there to try and get their message across, that they are not happy with what the president is doing, not just on this 250th anniversary, but throughout his administration. So look, I think we saw it today. We shouldn't be surprised by it today. I don't think we should be surprised if it continues this weekend. But I think as a city, we should be proud of the way it was handled, that no one was hurt in all of this, if there is anything to take away from it.
All right, our Ted Oberg joining us with more context and information and insight into what's happening today. Ted, thanks so much for joining us.